Welcome back, folks, to the Lighthead Online Video Show. On today's show, we're going to talk about Tariff-gate, ? Before that, we're here to tell you that this episode of the show is brought to you by Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com. The Retrofit Kings, lighting made easy. Keystone Tech, Greg.
Yeah, they continue to come out with new innovative product all the time. So that's what's important in today's lighting world, is to have new product that you can sell against old product. And Keystone does that better than anybody.
So go to KeystoneTech.com. That's KEYSTONETECH.com. So we've searched and searched, folks, to find somebody to talk about tariffs, and nobody seems to want to come on this show and discuss it in any depth. It's only conceptual, and nobody wants to talk about it. So Greg said, Michael, why don't you talk about it, huh? So,
yeah,
Greg, what do you want me to talk about?
I want a Canadian on to talk about a U.S. tariff. No, so on that subject, we've tried to reach out, or I've tried to reach out to a number of manufacturers, either been ignored or just straight up told that they don't want to talk about that right now. So, to me, it's I want to know what the reality of it is, and I want, maybe this is a challenge for whoever's listening to have somebody come on the show, and we're not fully educated on it. We can have opinions on it, and I think that's what we'll express some today. And I think that's where I wanted to start. So, Mike, why don't you give us your thoughts on this tariff idea?
So from my perspective, I'm just going to say what I think I know at this point, and I could be wrong, and I may sound like I feel like I'm 100% right, but that's how I deliver my message, Greg, sometimes. And listen, if you disagree with me, the gauntlet is on the table, buddy. I've thrown down the gauntlet. If you want to come on the show and talk about it, let's talk about it. So here's what's happening. Phase 1 of the tariffs started yesterday, September 24th, 2018. So now there is a 10% tariff on that Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol will begin to collect the 10% additional tariffs on Chinese-made products. This includes the lighting numbers, like it's like a H number or whatever you call it in the import duty thing. So that's going to include lighting products. So a 10% duty on the cost. Now, what I've researched is that if the rate is 10%, so that is a real cost that's going to come on some of these manufacturers. But Greg, did you know that the Chinese currency has weakened more than 5% since its peak earlier this year?
I have not studied the Chinese currency, so no.
So the renminbi has gone down by 5%. Did you get a letter from all the manufacturers saying it's time for a price lowering because the Chinese currency has gone down?
Never.
Right.
I didn't see that one.
Right. So I think largely what I've read on from different economists in that is that this tariff hike has already kind of been offset in the last year by the reduction in value of the Chinese currency, and the Chinese currency is going to continue to go down if these tariffs go up. So there's almost like a play going on between the value of the renminbi and the tariff rate. So there's an offset there already. The second thing, Greg, in the last 5 years, have you ever seen an increase to the cost of LEDs, or have we seen a consistent reduction in the cost of LEDs along with the increase in performance?
Yeah, a consistent reduction in cost, in our cost, our price.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. So the purchasing has consistently gone down. Now, are there two stars crossing in the night sky right now? One that is LEDs will no longer fall in price, and tariffs are going to come in, and these two stars are going to crash into one another at the same moment in time? I don't think so.
Sounds convenient.
Yeah, it sounds a little convenient to me. So here's my opinion on the tariffs. Phase 1 of the tariffs should have no impact on the cost from direct importers to distribution. So put that pipe in your pipe and smoke it, folks. I don't think that it should affect my cost, or I don't buy U.S. product, but if I bought U.S. product, I do not think it should affect my cost. All of the economists I've read, the Economist magazine put out an article this week on tariffs. Now, none of this is particularly about lighting, but it covers a host of consumer products. And what they're saying is that consumers are not going to notice any difference at all. Inflation rates are the rate of inflation is going to be very, very low from this. And that contrary to, there are a lot of Trump haters out there, And I'm not saying my position either way, but they're saying that largely this tariff is needed to put the Chinese in line and start trading fairly with the rest of the world. So China is is opaquely subsidizing all kinds of products to the detriment of American businesses and Canadian businesses and businesses in the West in general. And it's time for them to clean up their act. Enough's enough. And I think that regardless of your politics, this is a good move to put. China has never played fair within their World Trade Organization, and America has always played fair, or not most of the time has played fair, and China has most of the time not played fair. And it's time for them to start playing fair. So I think the tariffs are good, but I don't think they should affect the pricing of distributors at all. And so, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and that's my question is, why are they then? Because I'm getting letters in the mail, I'm getting emails, I'm getting, communication that pricing is going to increase anywhere from, I've seen 3% to 10%. And then I've had others that say they're not going to increase their pricing at all until because they
didn't send you a letter when the renminbi went down saying our prices are going down because the value of the Chinese currency has been reduced. Look, it's opportunistic. If I was them, I'd probably try to make a run at it. You know what I'm saying? But this is the Get a Grip on Lending podcast, son. No deal. So I think that there's no reason why the direct importers shouldn't be able to absorb this cost into the current cost they have right now, especially on their current stock. Now, this is going to come with a but or a however, whatever you want to put. So 3% I think is kind of in line with subtracting the 5% from the currency reduction and adding the 10% tariffs. Like 3% is probably maybe 2 to 2.5% is probably the actual fixed increase if you look at the currency. Now, if the Chinese currency continues to go down, well, maybe the prices should go down too, So it's a more complex dynamic than it's being made out within the industry. So it's not as simple as 10% on it when the currency goes down. The other thing too is I believe that LEDs, they'll continue to make efficiency gains in the production of LEDs, and that the costs of the chips and the components and all this stuff will continue to go down. And as this happens, there should actually be a continued reduction in the cost of LEDs, with a caveat. Greg, you know what the caveat is?
What's that?
On January 1st, 2019, there's another increase to this tariff. So that tariff from 10% is projected to increase to 25%. 25% is a bigger tariff. So should those tariffs go through, I think we have a different conversation. That is a lot more. If you take $10 and you add $2.50 to it, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't think that can be covered by currency fluctuations. I don't think that can be covered by I think eventually it can be worn down by the increasing efficiencies of LED. But should January 1st, 2019 roll out a 25% tariff by the USTR, the United States Trade Representative, if he goes and rolls out a 25% tariff, which I think he should, by the way, I think he should do it. They should do it. That will be a different podcast to talk about, because 25% is a big difference. It's 2.5 times more than the existing tariff now. So come January 1st, 2019, we may be releasing Tariff-gate 2. But for now, no deal, son. No increase in my prices or Greg's prices. I'm on Greg's side. There's no increase in the prices, Greg. What do you think?
Yeah, so my opinion on it, and I'm a little naive, and I tend to not really read a lot of news, or I kind of ignore the noise that's out there and just focus on what's ahead of me. Sure. I'm just getting my job done, getting things going. It feels like the rare earth thing that fluorescence had, the rare earth crisis or whatever that was, or fluorescent tubes. I don't know how many years ago it was now, 3-4 years. And I never got a straight answer on that, and that seemed to just kind of go away. So I'm not saying that this is going to be the case, but I think it is something where a lot of these manufacturers are really just taking advantage of an opportunity to increase their pricing. Their pricing has come down, and they're making less money because of it, and less volume and all that goes with it. So I think they're trying to take advantage of it, and it's a marketing ploy to some degree. Like a reputable manufacturer, a lot of manufacturers should have some inventory available now. They should have 2 to 3 months stock or inventory for the most part, of material that they're getting, if they're reputable. If they're making absolutely everything over in China, then tariff, fine. But if you're a legit manufacturer, and these are the people that are coming out that I feel are the legit ones, are coming out with these increases that I see. And it's like, well, shouldn't you have had some of this stock built up so that you paid that price prior to the tariffs into effect? Probably. You're just making up for some money now, and then you're going to keep it into effect in the future. So I don't like that.
You know what?
I think it's something they got to look at.
You know, look, build more value into your products. Don't come to me with some sort of excuse about, you know, external forces of 10% cost and all this kind of thing. You know, it's something that I just don't see. The other thing is that the way I look at it is that I've never been offered more blowout prices on LED product than I have this month or last month or today. You know, so
pre-tariff pricing.
Get it while it's hot. You know,
yeah, exactly.
I get lists all the time of people that just want to get rid of the LEDs they have, and that affects the current pricing. So there's a lot more forces at play other than a 10% tariff. 25% tariff, we can do a new podcast on that if that goes through. But 10%, no dice. You absorb that and get on with life. Yeah. And if you want to charge more, you have to make better products. You can't use excuses on us to try to jack us up 3%. I mean, 3%, what are you going to do? But 10%, this kind of stuff, I don't know, Greg. I think a lot of that stuff is arbitrary. I think they know less about what's happening than the hosts of the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
There you go. Well, and that's what I wonder too, is what specifically has gone up? Is it the raw material? Is it the manufactured assembled item? What is it? Nobody has had that answer for me.
I'll tell you. There's components. The components go up. So if they're importing LED diodes, those have gone up 10%. If they any like microchips, electronic components, all that stuff is jacked up 10%. If they're importing final product, electric lights, it's like a code, an HS code, electric lights and this kind of stuff. I should have brought a list for it, but there's line codes in the U.S. trade with NAFTA has it in that, where it talks about, this type of product is going to get this type of thing. So the components and the finally assembled products and the steel and the aluminum in them are all facing these tariffs. So yes, anything brought in from China will face it. Now, the idea of components, let me come back to you on that. So you buy a box of cornflakes, Craig. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the price of corn goes up. And Kellogg's decides to send you a letter saying the price of corn has gone up by 14%. So we're increasing the cost of a box of cornflakes by 14%. Well, how much is the corn in the cornflakes? Like 30 cents worth of corn?
Minimal.
I mean, how much? How much corn is in cornflakes? Right? So you can't put the 14% on all of the parts of the product. If it's component parts, so the box of cornflakes should go up 14% of 30 cents or whatever it is, not 14%. What do you buy a box of cornflakes for in Great White Bear Lake in Minnesota, buddy? What's the
street? I don't think I bought a box of cornflakes, but I'm going to guess $4.
Let's say $4 or $5, right? So it shouldn't go up 14 points on the $4. Okay, it should go up 14 points on the 30 cents of the input cost. So on the component side, you can't be marking up everything along the way. So this is what it comes down to. I don't believe that 10% makes a difference on the day-to-day price sheets of all these guys, these direct importers. I don't believe it. I think their margins can cover it. They should move on, move their inventory, not trying to find a way. I think what I think is going to happen. If someone tries to come through and push a price increase, you're just going to turn your nozzle and order it from someone else, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And there are going to be people, and I've talked to some manufacturers. I've talked to one that someone I would trust to give me some good feedback on it. And they're telling me that the LED drivers and the LED fixtures are really the items that are going up, are being affected, not necessarily the replacement lamps or bulbs, tubes, whatever that is in LED. So that's my.
What I read the HS
code. Question.
No, it'll apply. From what I've read, it should apply to those items as well as of September the 24th.
That's what I thought, but I was told differently, and that's where we need somebody on here that might know this to come on and tell us. And if they don't know, then how can you increase your price? And that's kind of what it feels like to me, is that nobody really knows. They're just taking a guess, and they're going to say we're going to increase our price because we don't know.
on our existing stock that's already here.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll see what happens, and then we'll raise it again if we need to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? Look, I mean, I think like we've been in the game for too long. We know opportunism when we see it.
This is it.
This is what it is. We know it when we see it. I smell it when I see it. That's it. Bottom line, no dice. We'll talk to you January 1st, 2019. Light Ted Online Video Show listeners.